Hey, Don Williams here with today's episode of the Proven Entrepreneur Show. My gosh, I have a great guest, topic we've never talked about, and one that's kind of new to me, even though I was in that industry for a long time, but I didn't know exactly what we're going to have shared with us today. I have Frank Campbell from Stratis Financial Partners with us today. Welcome to the show, Frank.
Thank you, Don. I've been looking forward to being your guest.
Well, it's my pleasure. And so, you know, we're going to talk today about life insurance, and we're going to talk about, I always thought all life insurance paid because it's pretty simple. Somebody died, but, but maybe that's not true. And I do know there's a significant lapse rate. So Frank, first question. Most people think they're insured until it's too late. What's the most dangerous? No, here, let's start here. I've lost my mind. It's the end of the day. Tell us about your company, what you do, who you do it with, and why you do it.
Well, I was happily retired and I was having a really good time, but it was all about me. And I'd had a successful career as a financial advisor, but I wasn't quite done yet. I had this list, 30 things you haven't done in 30 years. You're in month 14, I was on number 28. So I could either make another 30 or I could say, where can my skills add some value to the world? And life insurance, there was a court case that came out that talked about the proper care and handling of a life insurance policy. Basically, don't take it for granted, treat it like money. And most people aren't. And many trust companies weren't doing it either. It's just simple logic. So I decided that I was going to put something together to help people understand what they have, not to replace it, but to fix it. I went to some of my colleagues and told them what I was going to do, and they started laughing at me, said, that'll never work. So they told me I couldn't do it, Don. That's probably why I did it.
Yeah, I love that. Got a little entrepreneur in you. It's like, don't tell me what I can't do. Sit back. In Texas, we'd say, hold my beer and watch this. That's kind of how that goes. So, okay. Well, people do think they're insured many times until it's too late. What's the most dangerous false assumptions you see really smart, successful people making about their life insurance?
There's really two dynamics that make it work or not work, Don. The first one is some life insurance policies have unconditional guarantees. If you pay this premium, we will pay at least that death benefit. That's simple. But most policies have conditional guarantees, and people take them for granted. So if we get this rate of return, and if we don't raise the internal charges on the policy, then you're going to be fine. But historically, over the last 20 years, they haven't performed at that level. They haven't given you the interest rate they were projecting, or they changed and raised their costs a little bit because it was getting expensive at the home office. And what that does is take money out of the policy and it shifts the problem, the burden back to you. So if it does this, and if we don't do that, you'll be fine. But if we don't, it's on you. And people don't know that.
I was licensed and as an agent and a broker, and we did business in 40 some states in life and health. I knew the difference between, limited cause and all cause. And so all cause, if you die, they pay. But did not know about the intricacies of the inside of the policy as far as that goes. So I think you patented a product that you call the Stratis Policy Assessment.
Yes.
Because you saw something broken in the life insurance industry. What made you realize the industry wasn't actually protecting people in the way the people believe?
Well, I was thinking more about the people, Don. The industry is the industry, and the people need the protection. But life insurance is unpleasant to talk about. It's complex. and it's easy to get overwhelmed. So we put together our policy assessment. We go to the writing company and get specific information about that policy, and then we filter it back into our format. And what you get back is one page with everything you need to know about your policy in a way that a 12-year-old can understand. And it took me 3 years to perfect that so I could do it. So I want you to know what you have so you can make an informed decision about what needs to be done. And a couple of examples. When we review a policy, the most common problem is a beneficiary arrangement. I neglected to put on my third child, so that ought to
Mm,
be on there. Or my first wife is still the beneficiary on the policy, and that might make my second wife a little upset. But most of the time, it's just you didn't realize that something happened. It didn't perform to the level that it's supposed to. And you get an annual statement on these policies, Don, and it says, oh, in small font. There's this old story about the big print gives it to you and the small font takes it away, right?
yeah.
And the small font will say, we found it necessary to raise our costs of insurance from 23 cents a thousand to 26 cents a thousand. And it sounds like nothing, but it can shorten the lifespan of a policy, take it from age 100 to age 84. What they ought to do is say, Don, you're paying 100 a month, and it hasn't been going as well as we planned, but if you'll pay 130 a month, you'll still have the same degree of security and safety that you wanted when you bought the contract.
Mm,
You don't get that. Now, that you as an individual can make an informed decision, right?
right.
But if you don't know that it's running out of gas, it's not going to make it.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. All carriers?
Almost all.
Almost all. Yeah. So, and, insurance companies, they bailed out the government in the Depression. They're typically the ones with the money as far as that goes. So when you review a policy and that one pager says, hey, this probably can't be saved. This policy's gonna die. What's usually wrong, and like how shocked are your clients when you give them that message?
Don, a lot of times they come to me with that message.
Mm,
They bring in what I call the letter. And whatever company it is, it's the same thing. Dear Mrs. Gargoyle, you didn't know this, but your policy ran out of gas, and now you're going to have to pay a lot more to keep it going. And they put that back on Mrs. Gargoyle. So she didn't know. The reason she didn't know is because she bought the policy 15 years ago, and the agent said, you're going to be fine. And then she put it in a drawer and never forgot about it.
right. Yeah. And the average, I'm not going to knock insurance agents too hard here, but
Well,
I think there's about 300,000 in the state of Texas, and the average insurance, insurance is so complicated. The average agent doesn't know everything about the policy they're representing to you. And I don't care if it's on your car, your house, your life. I mean, it's just impossible to know everything in there. So sometimes when policies fail, you've been called as an expert witness. Without naming names, what's a lesson every entrepreneur should learn, should be on the lookout for with their insurance?
you need to have it checked every 5 years.
Okay.
We'll stop and put air in the tires in our car. Once in a while, we'll check the oil or get it changed. And we'll certainly look at our retirement fund and see how that's doing. But we never get around to looking at the life insurance. And so it sits there, and maybe it's good and maybe it's not. If I talk to a room of 100 people and I say that, but the truth is 20 of them have a policy that's beautiful. They don't need anything. The other 80% have something that's wrong and maybe we can fix it. But everybody seems to assume they're in the 20,
Hmm.
and it just doesn't get done. Just lift up the hood once every 5 years and make sure that somebody that understands this stuff is there to quote it. My expert.
Now, what are a couple ways that somebody could fix it?
Well, it depends on what's wrong. That beneficiary arrangement I mentioned to you, that's the most common thing we see, Don. Well, how about if we just change the beneficiary and bring it up to date? If you haven't died yet, it's a real easy fix.
Yeah, right. Really hard after the fact.
Yeah. There was a case where the policy was 13 years old, and we reviewed it. It was a good policy. We told the client that. We showed him why it was good. But the beneficiary arrangement had his wife and 2 children as the beneficiaries. But after that, he had another child and never included that child on the beneficiary arrangement.
Yeah.
Now, I've talked to attorneys that say they can go into court afterwards and get it fixed if it needs to be. But why? If we can just, with a piece of paper, correct it, then you don't have to go to court. You don't have the time. You don't have the attorney, and everything goes the way you want it to.
Yeah. Yeah. Save you $5,000 or $10,000 by not having to have an attorney go do it. So if a listener, if a founder entrepreneur watching our talk today wants real peace of mind, what are 3 things their insurance should absolutely do for them?
It should be there for their beneficiaries. It should not be something that's going to cause them a problem 5 years from now that they weren't expecting. And it should be with a good company.
Yeah. Love
By
that.
good company, Don, I mean financially. There are some companies that are really good and they manage in favor of their policyholders and they're looking out 80 years. But there's a whole bunch of them and some household names that aren't as well off financially, and they're not thinking about the clients as much as they are the next quarter's analyst evaluation. They make compromises on the policies, and they're the ones that are most likely not going to perform as well as they needed to.
Gotcha. Yes. And just so the listeners know, there's AM Best, there are rating services. And if I had a nickel for every time I talked with a insurance executive, especially life insurance, who said, now we're really conservative. I mean, they're all kind of on the conservative side, but they have shareholders and pressures other than, the insured. And so you want to watch out for that. Okay. So final question. I'm going to start a sentence and I'll ask you to finish it.
All right.
Insurance fails you the moment
you take it for granted.
Yeah, I think that's a really good lesson. Taking things for granted is not a good idea.
No.
Certainly not with, life insurance can be a cornerstone of your personal and corporate balance sheet and can be such a great piece of your financial today and future. Highly recommend to you, the listener, that as you look for life insurance, get somebody who's a real pro, okay, not somebody who sells 17 different types of policies and life is one of them. There's some people out there that all they do is life and they're very, very knowledgeable. And the other thing I think I would recommend is if you have a policy and you're not comfortable with the terms and conditions, and that policy is probably 25 pages, and you need to be an attorney or you need to be Frank to figure it out. But maybe you reach out to Frank and let him analyze that policy. So, Frank, what's a good way for somebody to reach out to you if they so chose?
Don, the best way is through my website, but before they reach out to me, they might want to read my ebook.
Okay.
It's on Amazon. It's called How to Do a Proper Policy Review. No Beneficiary Left Behind. It's an easy read, and I gave away all my secrets. So you want to know all these things? Read the book. You can also go on my website. That's stratisf.com/free book. and you won't have to pay Amazon. But most people say it's a good read and gives you things to think about. If I could give you a different analogy before we part,
Yeah.
I have to confess, I'm a car guy. And I've also got one fabulous mechanic who puts up with me. And like one old car, I've got a car with a carburetor on it. Most mechanics don't understand what that is. But now and then I get a break and I say, I'm gonna take a trip and I'm gonna go to Amarillo and back. And I don't want anything to happen. If this car breaks down, it's your fault. And he says, okay. And I leave him the car, and a couple of days later, he calls me back and says, you can go to Amarillo and back, you'll be fine. And he's never failed me in 15 years. Whatever I do with one of those cars, it makes it there and back, and I can enjoy the ride. I don't have to worry about a tow truck. Well, that carburetor, he doesn't understand carburetors either, but he's got a guy who does. So I never see him. If the car needs something with the carburetor, he calls the guy while the car's there. He comes in and fixes it, and I got what I want. I dropped it off, I pick it up, I don't have to worry about the details, and the car makes it. That's my analogy for the insurance. Let's make sure it's going to make the trip up there and back, and you get peace of mind, you get confidence, and the money is there to replace what needs to be replaced if you're not here.
Love that. Love that. Frank, thank you so much. Been very informative. I'm pretty sure people will get the ebook. Pretty sure people will reach out and do some policy reviews. It's been my pleasure to have you on the Proven Entrepreneur Show.
Thank you, Don. One last thing. Somebody told me to be successful in business, you only have to work a half a day. And it doesn't matter which 12 hours you pick.
Yeah.
So
I buy
thank you
that.
for allowing me to share my entrepreneurship, Don.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, folks, that's today's episode of the Proven Entrepreneur Show. We'll see you next time. Bye now.